This is Sygula from truththeory.com and welcome to another episode of True Spirituality. This is my series on metaphysics, esotericism, mysticism and spirituality. So today we're going to talk about spiritual awakening. So you want to go through a spiritual awakening process. You maybe heard some stories online or from some friends. And let's start by defining what is a spiritual awakening. So I personally think that we have different types of awakening and different levels. And some people might be aware of things on a level of society, how, for example, governments work, corporations, shadow government, false flag operations, etc. And this is also a form of awakening, but in this video I want to focus specifically on spiritual awakening, which is slightly different. So spiritual awakening is a process of going through an experience or a set of experiences that reveal to us the deeper aspects of reality. And there are many levels and many ways how you can experience a spiritual awakening. And I personally have been going through my process of spiritual awakening for many years. We're talking about probably something like 15 years, and first experiences started much earlier than that, but the more important things started happening around maybe 13 years ago. And I'll be sharing with you some of my experiences that I went through in a second. So for me, for example, the process was gradual with some major developments over this period of time. And I can tell you, it's been a fascinating adventure that completely changed my life for the better, how I see the world, reality, how I understand myself, my purpose, and it never ends as well. Once you think you understand a lot, you get this reality check, you learn something new, or you go through another experience, and now the rabbit hole goes deeper and deeper. At least this is how it looked like for me. And I personally believe that the more effort you put and the more ready you are, the more you will receive. So the first thing I want to talk about is intentions and putting effort. So I'm sure you might have heard about this saying, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear, or as you start to walk on the way appears. So I noticed that these spiritual experiences often happen when we are aligned and ready. Although not always it has to work like that. But if you think about it, if you aren't ready for something, so let's say you're partying all the time and your lifestyle is the opposite to a lifestyle of a spiritual person, and you start having some spiritual experiences or start trying things out, but you need to develop these things. You need to cultivate these things. And if you are busy partying, you probably won't get very far on your spiritual path. Because if you think about it, your lifestyle is conflicting with what you're trying to do. So I think these things often come when we are on the right path. So what does it mean to be on the right path? You basically start doing things aligned with your goals. And this can be experimenting with some kind of spiritual practices such as meditation, lucid dreaming, out-of-body experiences, Reiki, prayer, psychedelics, etc. You start trying things out, you start educating yourself, reading the literature, going to workshops, practice at home, etc. And one very important thing to mention here is that there are some practices that are harmful. I'm talking about things like black magic or witchcraft type of things. And you definitely don't want to experiment with this side. It will always turn against you at some point. Even if you think, initially it works really well for you, sooner or later it's gonna work against you. But this is a topic for another video. So another very important thing is that you need to start with an open mind and at least be willing to find out if something is true. So for example, if you are a true skeptic who do not believe in anything supernatural and you always approach these things with a lot of skepticism, you are unlikely to go very far. You will always attract what you resonate with and put energy into. So skeptics block themselves from the very early stage by dismissing the phenomena. You know, there's this saying, those who do not believe in magic will never find it, and I think this is very accurate. So you need to approach these things with an open mind, curiosity, and do the work. The more effort you put by practice, the more you will start shifting towards this path and start manifesting these experiences. And sometimes a spiritual awakening process can happen for some kind of a single event as well. Often it can be a traumatic experience, something like, for example, near-death experience or some profound psychedelic experience. Remember, there are no coincidences or accidents. All these things that are happening are designed to happen. You either manifested them through your previous actions, or it is a part of your journey that meant to happen. All right, so let's talk about my awakening process. I want to just give you some examples here. And as I said, it was a gradual process with loads of different experiences. And the deeper I went down the rabbit hole, the more crazy and bizarre and fascinating it became. So initially, I was just curious, you know, I'd go to events, workshops, experiment with different practices, educate myself, read, watch video content, etc. And I would experiment with all sorts of things like out-of-body experiences, meditation practices, prayer, healing methods, rituals, manifestation techniques, etc. And maybe around 13 years ago, interesting things started happening. I remember at some point I started having these dreams that would show me things in my life, for example, what might happen. And before that, I actually never remembered my dreams. Some of these dreams would be symbolic, and typically if they were symbolic, I would just naturally be very good at interpreting them. Other ones would be literal, and very often the way it would work, I would just wake up maybe like 4 a.m. or somewhere in the middle of the night where I actually remember the dream. There would be some kind of message there towards the end of the dream where I would still be able to remember it. Some of these dreams were warning me about some situations that might happen. Other ones would show me future outcomes, guide me what to do in life, etc. So let me give you an example of one of these dreams. And by the way, I had thousands of them by this time already. So for example, more literal dream was a situation where I saw a black and white X-ray photo of a child in the belly of someone who is pregnant, and my friend there. And a couple of weeks later, I learned that this friend who appeared in that dream, his girlfriend is pregnant. And when I calculated when she became pregnant, that was the same week when I saw the dream. So this is one example. So dreams is just one of many things that I've been experiencing. And let me actually share with you another example of some of these events on my spiritual awakening journey. So around this period in maybe 2008, between 2008 2010, one evening I smoked a little bit of weed and I went to bed. And I normally don't smoke. I might smoke once a year or something like that. So I went to bed and you know, I know how weed works, so I definitely wasn't hallucinating or anything like that. At some point I saw this white light on top of my head and I started having, you know, I was getting these electric shocks in my body. I was shaking and my muscles were getting stiff. And it was like basically like someone would do Reiki on you but amplify it 100 times, so you can imagine. And it was interesting, it lasted around 40 minutes, half an hour at least. And I had a very good positive feeling about it. It was actually a very nice experience. It was like someone would do a healing on me, really, really powerful. And I think that maybe the weed was just so I can get more relaxed, and definitely, you know, it enhances these kind of feelings. So I could feel it stronger because of that, but definitely 100% that was some kind of paranormal experience. You know, some people talk about Kundalini awakening on the internet. I think maybe it was something like that. I don't know. Around this period, I was experimenting a lot with healing methods like Reiki, similar to Reiki. I was doing Qigong already, maybe around 2-3 years by that time. So if you don't know, Qigong is this Chinese form of energy work. I started feeling my chakras, I would breathe in and I would get this tingling in my forehead, my left hand, etc. Left hand is minus, so it absorbs the energy. And I would go to the forest and I would start feeling energy of trees, for example. It would be like going through a spider nets. And I feel like this is happening because, I'm doing a lot of Qigong, I'm experimenting with these methods. So maybe I'm just becoming more sensitive to these energies. But later on, I stopped doing Qigong completely. I was only meditating, and these abilities stayed with me till today. So I realized that maybe what happened was actually I had some kind of single upgrade where these abilities were activated in me. And then I actually met some people who told me similar stories, that they went through a similar experience themselves and they also became sensitive to energies. So that's very interesting, and I still have these abilities till today. And I'll leave this story here. Like I said, some of these experiences were just the beginning for me, and over the years they started really evolving into much more sophisticated and interesting things. And honestly, I never really talked about it publicly because how people think about these kind of things. I think once you start going and experimenting yourself and start going through these things yourself, you're going to start seeing it for yourself. So I think we have an enormous abilities, and there is a whole world of knowledge and these experiences that we can tap into if we really want that and we do the work. And most of this stuff is hidden from the plain sight. People have no idea about these things. All right, so let's now go back to if you are completely new to these things, and how can you even start going through some of these experiences. So first, like I said, you need to start doing some work, practice, read, go to workshops, experiment with things. And I really recommend setting intentions and doing some prayer. We're living in a free will universe, so your intentions matter, and when you put effort, you will receive. So the easiest thing you can try, for example, spend 5-10 minutes a day in silence, repeating something like that in your head. So I would like to know what is the true nature of reality. I want to understand that. I want to experience that. I want to have a spiritual awakening. This is just an example, but repeat something like that in your head and actually really mean that. Think about it, not just say it and think about something else. Just really put effort and intentions into it, and do it every day for 5-10 minutes for a couple of weeks. So now the way this can start manifesting can vary depending on circumstances, people. So for example, you might suddenly discover a video on YouTube, or find something, some book, or meet a person, hear something somewhere, listen to a podcast. Something's gonna start happening which will start aligning you towards the path. It could be some kind of insight you're gonna get, idea, dream, whatever. Just be open to different type of guidance. Another very useful way to approach that is actually pray to your higher self. And basically your higher self is like your soul, your spirit. So you can, for example, repeat in your head for a few minutes a day, something like that. So my higher self, please help me to understand reality so I can go through a spiritual awakening. I want to know the truth, and I want to know how things really work. So it can be something like that. You can do that every day for 5 minutes, and again, see what happens, what starts happening after a couple of days, couple of weeks. You need patience. Not everything just gonna work like that straight away. And do not force anything. Sometimes some kind of conditions need to be present so you can go through an experience. And again, if your lifestyle is completely not aligned, that might be a problem. So for example, again, if you're partying all the time, or your intentions aren't very pure, or you're not believing in anything like that, that might actually block you. So you might actually want to start working on these things first before you're going to actually start doing any work. But you should still keep trying anyway, because maybe it's going to actually work out somehow. Spiritual awakening can be difficult. Why? Because your whole worldview starts shifting. For example, some behaviors that you considered completely normal in society might suddenly become very, very unconscious to you. So you start seeing things through a different lens. You know, a lot of people who go through a spiritual awakening start feeling lonely, for example, because if they hang out with just regular people and they go through such a profound experiences, they might feel like they don't have anyone to talk to about it because no one's going to understand them. So you definitely want to have maybe some good friend to talk to, and probably you're gonna start drifting towards new types of people who are aligned on the path like you. That's a normal thing, you know, we change friends sometimes, it's just the way things are. So keep in mind that there are many levels of spiritual awakening, and it's like a never-ending rabbit hole. The more time, energy and effort you will put, the more it will start opening for you. It doesn't have to work like that for everyone. Sometimes people just have them suddenly, unexpectedly. It happens as well. But as with anything, you start working on that aspect, you start developing that. The more you pray, the more you meditate, the more you educate yourself, the more you develop some of these abilities, the better you're going to become at some of these things. So if you want to start this journey, or you're already going through this journey and you need some guidance or someone to talk to, get some tips maybe, you can reach out to me. I'm doing actually one-to-one coaching as well now. So, you know, no obligation, just send me an email. You can, for example, just go to truetheory.com/contact and just use the contact form there to reach out to me. All right, so thanks for checking this video. Let me know what you think about some of these ideas, some of the things I shared, and let us know in the comments if you actually have been going through a spiritual awakening process, or if you had some kind of experiences like that. Yeah, I want to know what do you think about these things, and if you ever experienced anything like that. Until next time.